So, hello everyone. I'm Romain Menetrier from Dowgo, CPTO at Dowgo. And I will start with the only question I have in this talk. It's who holds the RWA here in the room? Yes, some. But do you know what you hold exactly? So do you know what is the right of you handle with the owning of this RWA? Maybe not. And that's the question of the talk today. So I want to start with a product who has been launched last year at HCC. It was about tokenization of stock markets, and I won't name it, but you will recognize it. If you read because there's a local documentation who come with the stock markets, tokenized stock market, and when you read these documentations, you see three things. The first thing is that when you buy the product, you don't own the shares. So that's main point, because you just are holding some like receipt of the asset, but not the asset himself. The second thing is the risk. If the intermediary go bankrupt, it says that you lose your investment. So you don't get back your assets. You are a creditor like any office supplier of this intermediary. And the last thing, it's surprising, but it's here. It's a token in non-transferable. So you can buy it, sell it, but you cannot transfer. So one of the basics of the blockchain is not enabled. And so I spent 10 years in blockchains, but last 2 years in finance, regulated finance. And one of the surprise I have, it's what real means. I mean, that's real world assets, and what is real in this case. Maybe there's one question that we can route to the register. So the source of truth. If you have stakeholders on a company, you have a list of the owners of the shares of the company. So that is a source of truth because this is the legal enforcement of the shareholding. And there's only two answers to this question: who is on the register? The first is intermediary. So when you buy something, let's say tokenized asset on Robinhood, you buy something from Robinhood, and Robinhood in the other side buy an asset through custodian with DTCC, because if they want to buy Apple shares, it's US shares, so they buy through DTCC, who is a custodian. And the custodian manage a name on Apple shareholders, who is CD&Co. And for the little story, CD&Co was created like 50 years ago, because before it was written on the paper. But with the volume, you know that every company has to move the shareholders on papers, and it was impossible. So the custodian appears, and they put one name for every stocks you buy through a broker and so on in US, and it appears as CD&Co on shareholders on US stocks. And so, like you see, you have 3 layers of before your ownership. And basically, it replicates what you see on TradFi. You go to a broker, like in France, I know Boursorama or something like that, to ask to buy from stock markets. And this broker go to a custodian, and a custodian buy shares and have his name on the shareholders of the company. So that's not a Web3 problem, that's just a TradFi problem. And the second answer is to have you on the register, of course. Like if you are in small startups, you have shares on these startups, you are on the shareholder list of these startups. You don't have a broker and a custodian and so on. So you have no intermediary, no nominee, it's just you. And so most of what we call RWA now are just receipts. So maybe it's more 90% of RWA now, it's are the receipts. And what's, I think we have to go, it's a real ownership on chain because we can have that. And yeah, until recently, there was no path to have this ownership directly on chain, but that has changed. When I started in this financial regulated finance field, I was focused, like many others, on the PSAN and MiCA stuff, so on-ramp and off-ramp and stablecoin and so on. But at the same time, EU issued a regulation in 2022 called the DLT pilot regime. It was a terrible name, but a very great idea. BID is first time on a major jurisdiction is that the blockchain it's the main legal record for securities. So that you have no copy, you have no, it's not a mirror another ownership, it's a real ownership, the source of truth. And what it brings three things, sorry. The first thing is direct legal ownership. So if you have this token on your wallet, you can go to a court. Legally, it's recognized as you as the owner of this asset. The second thing is a right that execute themselves. As you are the owner on chain, you have all the rights that come with the asset. So voting rights, dividends, and so on can be bring to the on-chain, and that is legal. And the third thing is bankruptcy remoteness. So even if the intermediary who has sold you the asset initially disappear and go bankrupt, as you are on the registry, you have the asset directly on your wallet. You still have the asset. So the asset is no more the platform. You have the asset directly. And on that way, United States, as usual, has gone faster on the receipt way, so level 1. They have the volume, they have users, and they have the headline. I think you have heard about BlackRock build tokenized fund. This was huge news of tokenization. And so they did go very fast. But in Europe, we have built the legal path to real ownership with this regulation. And now we have 6 companies who have this pilot regime agreement. So the one in gray, because they have not the full scope of the DLT pilot regime, because it covers settlement and trade. And but you have also lease in France, and you have Securitize with a US company who are just coming last September in Spain with the agreement. And the good thing is what we see, it's expanding the pilot regime. In last December, the EU Commission has proposed to raise the cap. So now it's 6 billion for each company, and it will become 100 billion by company. And also they extend it to any financial instruments. So it's a pilot regime who's becoming a system for now, soon. To get back to how it works with this pilot regime, in TradFi and in receipt form of tokenizations, compliance lives in the venue. Like if you want to buy stocks, you go to a broker, so a platform, and you go to all the onboarding stuff. And after this onboarding, you can buy and sell the token. If you go to another platform, you have to go back and make the same thing again. They have their own KYC, their own onboarding form, and you have to make it again to be able to have the token. So the compliance wall is on the platform side. And so if any of the platform don't want you can't do anything with the token. There's another way to operate now with ERC 3643. It's a standard, open standard, like in Ethereum world, you know EIP and ERC, because maybe you know ERC20, of course, stablecoin, the norm is behind stablecoin. The idea of 3643 is to manage identities on chain and manage compliance directly on the token. So no more on the operator way, but on the operator place, but on the token directly. But how it works is that when you use this token on an operating transaction in blockchain, it will go through a regular operation, and on transfer, it will check that the recipient and the sender are eligible to transfer this token. That's all. And as it lives in the asset, and it's ERC20 based, you can use it in any DeFi protocol that's enable use ERC20, so a lot of these. And if you don't have to change something to be compliant, because the compliance lives in the token directly. So if you use, I don't know, swap with someone who is also eligible in this token, there's no problem. So we spent the first half of this talk removing intermediaries from the ownership. ERC 2633 removes the last one with a compliance wall. And with this, you have all the building piece for a compliant token, regularly, and open to DeFi. That's a amazing piece between DLT, pilot regime, so the legislation, and the functioning market. So now we are at 10 years of tokenizations. It brings a lot of good things like faster settlement, cheaper transfer, 24/7 markets, all you see with the US stocks and so on. But there's still a problem with the ownership. There's the same ownership structure that you have in TradFi, so you still have layers of before your ownership on the asset. So the DLT pilot regime, for the first time, ask another question. The question before, it's how do you make the whole system faster? So the fast settlements, the 24/7 market, and so on. But the last question, what is the investor, is the owner? So it's what we build at Dowgo now. We are on financial infrastructure who is building on the Ethereum mainnet, on open standard, on compatible with DeFi ecosystem, and everyone can build on it. And we just wait for the regulation from ESMA to be able to issue it. And I want just to finish on ownership, so that we don't need more tokens. There are already many, but what we need is real ownership on that. Thank you. And you have the room for communication if you want.
Hi, maybe one question. Do you and how do you use this standard ERC 4636? Sorry, this one. How do you practically use this standard at Dowgo?
We use because we use as a base token. So the standard implies some role on it. One of the role is to issue the token, puts the rules on the token, so who can hold it if you have a KYC and so on. We help also to make the KYC and make identities verified to be eligible to pass this token. So we make all these things as a platform around these tokens. But after, as I said, you are the holder of the token, so you can use it as you want. Just like a main rampon for the token.
And what kind of product do you propose today?
For now, we can't because we are not regulated. So now we are building, and you are waiting. We are working actively on the regulation to have the agreement as soon as possible to be able to issue that. Okay, so thank you.